In the legendary world of ancient Greece, high above the island of Crete, a young man soared through the sky on wings carved from wax and feathers. Icarus, the son of Daedalus, defied both human and divine boundaries. He ascended higher and higher, ignoring his father's warnings. To those below, he appeared godlike. To himself, he felt invincible. Yet in ancient Greece, the divide between gods and mortals was absolute, and those who dared to overstep it faced dire consequences. Such was the fate of Icarus and his father. Long before Icarus was born, Daedalus was renowned throughout Athens as an unparalleled inventor, craftsman, and sculptor. He pioneered the art of carpentry, creating tools that shaped the future. He designed the first bathhouse and dance floor, and his sculptures were so lifelike that Hercules himself mistook them for real men. But beneath his brilliance lay arrogance and envy. When his nephew displayed exceptional skill, Daedalus, fearing competition, murdered him in cold blood. For his crime, Daedalus was exiled from Athens and sought refuge in Crete. His reputation preceded him, and King Minos welcomed him with honor. Appointed as the palace's chief engineer, Daedalus continued his relentless pursuit of innovation. For the king's children, he crafted mechanical toys that mimicked life itself. He revolutionized seafaring by inventing the sail and mast, giving mortals command over the wind. With each invention, he chipped away at the barriers between man and God until he went too far. Queen Cypher, wife of Minos, fell victim to a curse from Poseidon, which filled her with unnatural desire for the king's prized bull. Desperate, she turned to Daedalus for aid, and with his usual audacity, he agreed. He constructed a hollow wooden cow so realistic that it deceived the bull. Hidden within, Cypher conceived a monstrous offspring, the half-man, half-bull Minotaur. Enraged by this abomination, King Minos held Daedalus responsible for violating the natural order. As punishment, the king ordered Daedalus to construct an inescapable labyrinth beneath the palace to imprison the Minotaur. When the masterpiece was complete, Minos betrayed Daedalus, locking him and his son Icarus atop the tallest tower, condemning them to a lifetime of imprisonment. But Daedalus, ever the inventor, refused to accept his fate. Watching the birds circling his prison, inspiration struck. If birds could fly, so could they. Gathering feathers left behind by nesting flocks and melting wax from candles, he meticulously crafted 2 sets of wings. As he fastened them to Icarus, he issued a stern warning. Flying too low would make the wings waterlogged. Flying too high would melt the wax. Balance was key. Moderation was survival. With these words, they took to the sky, becoming the first mortals ever to fly. Daedalus maintained a steady course, but Icarus, exhilarated by his newfound freedom, felt the intoxicating pull of the heavens. He climbed ever higher, drunk on the illusion of divinity. Daedalus could only watch in horror as his son soared beyond reach. The sun's heat melted the wax, and the wings disintegrated. In an instant, Icarus plummeted, his brief moment of triumph ending in tragedy. Just as Daedalus had disregarded natural order in pursuit of greatness, Icarus, too, succumbed to hubris. In the end, both paid the price for their defiance, Icarus with his life, and Daedalus with an unbearable grief that would haunt him forever. Daedalus, heartbroken and weary, drifted alone through the skies, escaping from Crete, but forever burdened by the loss of his only son. He landed on the shores of an unfamiliar land, burying Icarus's lifeless body on a small island that would forever bear his name, Icaria. There, he mourned, but he also knew that he had to keep moving, for Minos's wrath was not yet spent. Fleeing once more, Daedalus found sanctuary in the court of King Cautionary in Sicily. Though weary and aged from his many trials, his mind remained sharp, and he continued his work, creating grand inventions for his new patron. But Minos, relentless in his pursuit, sought vengeance for Daedalus's escape. The cunning king devised a clever test, offering a great reward to anyone who could thread a spiral seashell, a challenge only Daedalus, the greatest craftsman, could solve. When word reached Minos that the puzzle had been completed, he knew he had found his fugitive. Arriving in Sicily, he demanded Daedalus be returned to him. But Cautionary and his daughters had no desire to betray the genius who had become their friend. Instead, they lured Minos into a bathhouse of Daedalus' design and scalded him to death with boiling water. At last, Daedalus was free. Yet freedom did not bring peace. Haunted by memories, he abandoned his pursuit of godlike creation. Some say he continued to wander, crafting smaller, humbler works, keeping to himself, and avoiding the ambitions that had once led to so much ruin. Others believe he sought solace in the temples, offering prayers to gods he had once sought to rival, hoping for redemption. The story of Daedalus and Icarus endures as a cautionary tale of genius and hubris, of ambition and restraint, of how even the most brilliant minds are bound by the limits of mortality. Their flight was an achievement unmatched by any mortal before them, yet the sky remains a domain of gods alone. Icarus fell because he sought to claim the heavens as his own. Daedalus lived, but in doing so, carried a grief heavier than any chains. As the years passed, Daedalus became a man of legend, his name spoken with reverence and caution. He left behind a legacy of invention, but also a warning that unchecked ambition, no matter how great, can lead to ruin. His story, passed down through generations, reminds mortals of the delicate balance between aspiration and recklessness. In the end, Daedalus disappeared into history, his final fate unknown. Some say he faded into obscurity, his hands no longer shaping the world. Others believe he ascended in a different way, not to the heavens that claimed his son, but into the fabric of myth itself, where his name and story would live forever.